Welcome back to the RetroStation Podcast. I am your host, Sammy Retro. It's in the name. You know who I am. You know why you're here. I want to talk about Daredevil Born Again, season 2, episode 7. I'm going to take my headphones off because I need to focus. But this episode was so interesting because it kind of circled right back to what the show is really about. The characters of Karen being in jail and that talk of Wilson right at the start. Essentially, it was interesting. It was different. Not what I expected, because I thought Karen was probably going to die. He had his hands on her throat and I was like, okay, is she going to die? Because I heard the rumors of the deaths in this episode. I heard about Daniel and I was like, whoa. Spoilers for the entire episode. I heard spoilers and I heard sad stuff to do with Daniel's character. I was like, oh no, they're going to kill him off. And I think it's a shame to me because Daniel was probably the best part of the new era of Netflix. Netflix, Disney Plus, Daredevil. And with that, him dying to Buck, it's such a shame because it's Daniel's character and his progression from this little lackey to essentially so important to Mayor Fisk's entire ecosystem of people around him. It was like, damn, we're really gonna just do that? We're really gonna just kill him off? And kind of circling back to the interactions and ramifications of rebellion and basically not doing what you're told, even if what you're being told is wrong. That whole fortitude of I don't do what they say is very well done in this episode. And that's why I thought Karen was going to die in the first 10 minutes. I thought it was going to be basically Matt's breaking point. Because in the last episode and the episode before that, the entire thing was about Bullseye and his one good deed. And his one good deed obviously being either killing Wilson or killing Vanessa. Vanessa has this whole arc and it takes back to the original show and how they met and this kind of importance of the painting. And I love that, the rabbit in the snowstorm and the blood on it, because it was Wilson's blood, and then in the previous episode it was Matt's blood, basically tainting that painting altogether and then in turn breaking it. The cycle is broken. Things are different, and that's why I thought, okay, that's why Karen's gonna die, because things are different now. I don't know why I'm sounding like I'm gonna cry. I just think the show is so good compared to the last season. And my god, I loved Daniel's arc. And BB Report and the City Without Fear stuff is so cool. And I just, man, the more I'm thinking about it, because I literally just watched the episode, I've come sat down and I'm going to talk about it. You're going to see my reactions in real time to the ramifications of it, because what's going to happen now? Matt, damn, it's satisfying yet really annoying that Daniel is dead. And that's the whole thing. One good deed is come back for Daniel to save BB and save her. We don't know if she, anything's going to happen, but in essentially saving her. Dude. Peak. But other things that happened in this episode with, Matt, the surprise of Matthew Murdock in the trial case to do with Karen, I thought was really good and really interesting. I feel, once again, we're tying things back to the original show. Like it did in the Grand Design, like it did in the episode after that. God, we're episode 7 already. I think we're finally now starting to see everything that the original show was good for starting to really bleed into this new show. With season 1, you obviously have to compare it to the Frankensteininess of what was the direction. Was it the kind of weirdness with Matt and the new law stuff, and then also I don't know, there was episode 8 and episode 1 were really good because we got the whole saving of Wilson Fisk, which leads into this season of calling Matt a hero. I think that was good, but man, what dude, Buck killing Daniel hurts my soul. him pointing the gun while Matt seeks forgiveness in the kind of just seeking penance for what he's done, because he knows that he sent Bullseye off to the governor to basically just let him kill who he wants. I think this is a really... If this last episode does not fumble, I will be very, very surprised. And also the stuff with Jessica Jones. We got introduced to her last episode, and then in this episode we see Mr. Charles have that conversation with her and be like, hey, Luke is doing the stuff that you were supposed to do, and you get to be a mother while he goes away. And that makes me surprised, because I thought Luke was already going to be running for mayor in some capacity, but he's not. He's away. And that's the whole stuff with the arms deal, is to set up basically the Defenders in the third season, which we've seen leaks, and you kind of have to talk about them in regards of this episode and this show, especially because the next season is clearly Cell Block D and that whole arc, and I think it's going to Devil's Reign. But if you don't know about the leaks, you're like, where is this show going to end? How's it going to end up? Why is the end of the episode is just Matt in a church and Daniel dying? The character of Heather and her character arc, she's clearly going to become Muse, especially during the whole prison stuff with Karen, how they're beating her up and how she kind of likes it. Like with last episode and Buck as a character, another one of the best parts of the new show. I think they've finally realized what works in the new show, and that is Buck, and that was Daniel, and that was Heather. I can't remember it. I mean, the Hector stuff in the first season was really, really good, and obviously with her daughter, the White Tiger, I think that's really fun, but it's clearly in the background now, and he's kind of this avalanche of a bigger story, and that's where it's going to go into Luke Cage. But in terms of Heather as a character, she's going full on psycho. She's going full on crazy. She's beating up people. She's just like lying with the swordsman's trial. It's quite surprising that she's doing that. Yeah, I think there's not much to say about this episode because it's quite simplistic in nature. It was pushing the plot along to the breaking point, and that breaking point is clearly Wilson and Matthew Murdoch going into prison, and that whole storyline, that whole comic line being adapted with King's Reign, Devil's Reign. I think we got basically just drip fed other stuff and other plot lines for season 3, like how we got it in season 1. But I think it's better executed this time around. Definitely. Wow. I'm still not over his death, man. It's a shame, because he was definitely just the best part of the show. Bullseye, that stuff with the governor was really cool. I think the fact that Matt asked him to do it, be like, hey, can you protect her? We need to make sure that she is okay, because she's the middle ground. She is someone who understands Wilson's dumbness and wrathfulness after Vanessa's death, and the whole plot of her saying, we need to lock this down now. This needs to stop. Let's go. I think that's really interesting in terms of Spider-Man Brand New Day, because we know the hands in that film, and we know that Wilson Fisk is no longer going to be mayor because of the key to the city being towards Spider-Man. The trailer shot, everyone's talking about that as like, did it just spoil Daredevil Born Again? But in my mind, it didn't really spoil anything. It just kind of left us more aware of where the plot was going along, and that's different than like a spoiler, because we don't know if that was simply because Wilson Fisk couldn't appear on Spider-Man Brand New Day because of the character rights and all that dumb stuff around it. So we thought maybe it was a workaround, a reach around for Wilson Fisk to not appear. So that's why I didn't, in my mind, go, oh, it's a spoiler. Oh, okay, so Wilson Fisk is no longer going to be mayor. It's still a surprise. It's still a shock to see the twists and turns of post-Vanessa death and Wilson's kind of revenge tale of everything, because he no longer has what he wants. And obviously Wilson is a character that shows very little emotion, but as soon as she's gone, Vincent D'Onofrio is just acting his ass off, especially after her death. God, his tears, his emotion, his wrath, his rage, it's all coming out similar to that of the Netflix show where, you know, you said Vanessa, you said my name. It's kind of bringing us back to that fearful state of being scared of what Wilson is, because once we are inside the mind of a psycho, we can understand the tragedy and the forgiveness that it takes for them to be redeemed in some capacity. And with Wilson Fisk in that first season of the Netflix show, showing him killing his dad and looking in the rabbit in the snowstorm, we get why he wants to do what he does. It's not any more justified, it's just we get it now. And with this new season and this new show, we are more in Wilson Fisk's life than we have ever been before. And with season 2, we care more because of that. And then we're caring more about Vanessa's death, even if we go, wow, finally the villains lose. Because it feels like this season, as much as the heroes and the interlocking Ds of the entire city, basically the bat symbol of it all, has tried to rebel, it's not been enough until the last 2 episodes, where it's finally, the cracks are starting to finally form, and we can see what's going out on the other side. And with Wilson Fisk as a character, Vanessa's death is the smashing bone of cracks. It is, everything is now opening up like a lava pit. It's incredible. Vincent D'Onofrio, especially in this last episode, that little laugh that he gives to Karen, showing that he's scared. Oh, it's good. And then later on, where he's watching the trial, Matthew Murdock appears, and he's just like, you can tell, you can sense, you can see it. Even if it's acting, you can see it. Sometimes, especially for Marvel stuff, the acting is a little bit surface level. Like Vincent D'Onofrio as a character is just incredible. The cracks are forming to finally, you know, the crumble of it all. It's a big lava, and my God, you're gonna get burnt. It feels, it's just so good. And with it, the acting in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has kind of sometimes always been surface level. You know, you have the standouts like Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans as Captain America, but they are not as complex as when you get a show like this. And Vincent D'Onofrio is the saving grace of how a villain can be portrayed, in the same way that Wilson Bethel can do Bullseye. They are complex, they are interesting, intriguing even, like, yeah. I think season 2 has put it above some of the Netflix stuff, and that's what everyone tries to compare it to, and that's what I've compared it to. But I think it's done a good job. It's done a better job in some regards. Yes, visually it's still a little flat, it's still a little grey, but that's just the MCU, and that's where the faults of the show start to lie. Like, the writing is good, but the ADR is somehow a little obvious, and that's a shame. Like, with the ADR and the visuals being grey, it's not a big complaint in my books, but I know other people and people I've talked to about this show, they do not like that. They don't like the excessive swear words. It feels like they're 12 years old, and the grey looks really dull. I think visually we had some interesting stuff. I think the blue with Bullseye was there. I kind of wish we saw that in this episode when he saved the governor. I wish we saw that blue again, because that's him kind of showing he's in this mind of numb and he's just doing what he loves. You know, the one good deed, you could suggest that he's out of it and he's kind of just back to reality. I think he's loving every moment of it. Bullseye as a character loves killing. That goes without question. I mean, even in the Netflix show, Jesus Christ, the finale of him showing up to the wedding, he loves murdering, even if he's changed. You can't change who you are fundamentally, and that's where the show is so impeccable with its writing sometimes. They can't change who they are. But yeah, Bullseye saving it. I kind of wish you saw more of some blue in there, because I think that would be good. And with Matt going to the church, it's all red, because that's his home. So I would have liked to see that opposition, Personally, I would have loved to see the episode, but I think it was a really good episode. And I'm really excited to see what they do with the finale. I think they're going to bring back most of the Defenders. I mean, Jessica Jones walks into the church, and we know in promo that she helps him up. So clearly he's just going to get ready, maybe in a new suit. Maybe he's just going to rip off of the black, but have like black interlocking Ds. Maybe the opposite. And then he'll probably get put in prison. So that's a shame, but I think it was a really good episode. In other news, on the other side, we have DC and Clayface and the teaser trailer that come out for it. And I think this is probably my most anticipated movie of the year, because I think Clayface as a character is like, he reeks of tragedy, and that reekfulness is so interesting when you're paralleling your own life. The character of Matt Hagen is clearly going after the BTAS stuff and the feet of clay, and I think that's a better direction than his current comic book counterpart, because as much as like his comic book counterpart exists, it feels quite just not there. Like, his original origin of a character is he goes deep sea diving and finds this clay and tries to off himself, and then he turns to a life of crime. It feels really boring. When I was reading it, I was bored. I was sat there like, okay, this is quite boring. But the teaser gives us this really good horror look, and the colors are there. This is the opposite of what Marvel has. Like, this has color, this has flair, especially when Matt Murdock as a character is so infused with red. So is Matt Hagen in this teaser. He is so infused. Look fear in the face. Clayface is the logo itself is red, and that red is quite cool. It's quite nice. It's better than like his goopy brown. I'm really glad they didn't do the goopy brown, even though I think it takes away his original identity as this meshy monster, and then now it's more a body horror. I'm not mad about that change. I'm not mad about its push into one direction of let's do a body horror and let's make it really tragic, because those Feet of Clay episodes are really sad. His whole entire thing of a character is he got into an accident, his face is disfigured, and then he uses this clay to build himself back up and do the best hits of his life. And then in the film, it seems to be he has this disfigurement, and then he becomes an up-and-coming actor because of the clay, which I don't know how to feel about that. I think that's really good. I think it's really interesting how it's not the opposite approach. It's not like he was already a movie star, failed, got the clay stuff, then came back. He was a nobody, and then he came somebody because of the clay. And you can make the comparisons to the Joker, 2019, how his entire life he was a nobody, and then he becomes somebody at the end of it. And as much as I don't hate those comparisons, they are quite different characters, and they're quite different stories. The Arthur Fleck character is this person who is definitely insane and has this little slice of tragedy. You know, the stuff with the mum, the stuff with being away, stuff with thinking that he's part of the Wayne family, I think is interesting if you don't care about the character of Joker to be... It's like you don't care about the character to be comic accurate because it's an interesting twist. With this one, they're trying to kind of teat those lines of, well, back in the 90s, there was a very popular episode. Like, hold on. Joker is an original story, an original adaptation of a very popular character who has no origin, so I think it works. Clayface, Matt Hagen, does have an origin, but no one knows about it. They know about it, they don't talk about it, because they prefer the animated show that takes off the original character of Basil Karlo and his Clayface from back in the day, and him being a movie star. So that infusion of two characters is what everyone knows Clayface to be. So when this film comes out and people compare it to the Joker film, I disagree, because it's not trying to do anything brand new. It's trying to bring up... bit of wind. it's trying to bring up really, really good writing and really, really good storytelling from an already existing medium. And that, I think, is much better. Matt Hagen as a character in this film clearly doesn't have like his trailer park buddy Teddy, which was clearly an allegory and metaphor for feeling like a freak, feeling like a queer person. Because Teddy is not confirmed, and neither is Matt Hagen in that show, but the way that they're quite close. And this is my own opinion, this is my own like kind of frame of reference of, I think they were Teddy and Matt Hagen were clearly very queer coded characters. They were very much like that because the character of Clayface in those episodes feel like that. He's a freak if he's not who he truly is. He's a freak if he's not the best version of himself, and to the outside world, queer people are not the best versions of themselves because they think that they should not be that at all. So for the film to kind of, I don't know if they're going to disregard that idea, but I think they're not going to do it as much as we know he has a love interest. We know he has her. I forgot her name. I don't know of her name, actually. I should probably know that already. But who she is as a character is clearly a love interest and then helps her. Similar to that of Teddy. I think that twist and that deeper thought of Matt Hagen being this character of kind of representation of things that are bottled up inside, hidden inside, would be interesting. But because it's a body horror, I think we're not really going to see much of that, and we're going to see more of Matt Hagen going from nothing to everything, back down to nothing, and slowly making his way back up, because the plot is clearly he gets disfigured and he does what he can to build himself back up to be a movie star in some capacity. Like he'll go back to the start, he'll get disfigured, he'll have the clay, it'll make his face feel good and look better, and then it will start to mold, and then that's why he'll need more of it and more of it and more of it, similar to that of an addiction, because in those episodes of the 90s it is about addiction, and it is definitely about what it takes to be kind of the best version of yourself. At least reflecting off to the audience. So for the film, I hope it does that, but it probably won't. And that's where I'm like, okay, I think this film, I'm going to really, really love everything about it. But that core fundamental to me, if that's not shown the slightest bit, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed in Mike Flanagan, because his original pitch was based on these 2 episodes. It's very publicly known that Mike Flanagan wrote this after kind of thinking about those episodes and thinking about that character of Clayface, give it to James Gunn, and James Gunn, we love it. And then it got rewrit and a different director and stuff like that. So I really hope those rewrites push those ideals up. I think at the end of the day, this film will be really, really good for DC because it's different. It's not formulaic like Marvel. And the way that James Gunn describes it it's different genres because different writers. I don't hate that. I think it will be a very good movie. That's kind of all I have to say about it. It's little things. It's like niche complaints. But overall, I'm loving the direction. I'm loving the visual flair. Look Fear in the Face is obviously very similar to Look Up and oh my god, I forgot Supergirl's tagline. Look Out? I think it's Look Out. It's some version of that, but they all have the first word look. And I think it's really good because obviously the eyes are on DC and James Gunn. It's always to what are they doing? Because James Gunn as a creative started independent, then went to Marvel, worked at DC, go back to Marvel, now works full time at DC. The eyes and everything is on DC because of his past. And because of DC's past of being a really, really bad franchise and not knowing where their story is going. And trying to push team-ups when you didn't need to. Like Batman v Superman, it pushed that to make Justice League. It had zero build up, and that's what failed so fundamentally about it. And that's what I love about this and the DC, because they're taking their time. They're not pushing everything to be, oh, hey, look, they're teaming up with one another. Like, Man of Tomorrow is kind of being that, with Jon Stewart, Green Lantern appearing, Brainiac, probably Batman in some capacity, and then that begs the question of, is Batman going to appear in Clayface? I don't know, and I don't want him to be honest. I want this to be a standalone story. I don't want Batman in a post-credit scene. I don't want it to be Robert Pattinson. I want this to be a clear story of a rogue-centric city, and Batman is not got to Clayface yet. I think he needs to become Meshy Monster first. You know, I think he needs his arc, and then we see Clayface again in the actual Batman movie, rather than the last 10 minutes Batman is like, oh, you gotta stop. I'm not a fan of you. Can you stop existing? That will kind of suck, because it will take... Yes, you'll have the perfect tragedy of, oh, he was just trying to make himself better. He was just trying to get back at the people who hurt him, but now he's being murdered by Batman, and then we won't, like, you know, murdered is a strong word. He'll be detained by Batman, and I think that will kill all momentum for the character of Clayface. That everyone will just be talking about Batman. No one will care about Clayface if Batman's in the movie. People will look back on it and be like, oh yeah, no, it's the one with Batman, the first appearance of Batman. And people go, oh yeah, no, Clayface is also in this one. I think that, personally, pop culture heads, they love the Mount Rushmore of characters. So anytime they appear in anything, it's more popular, but people care less about everything around it. Like, if Batman appears in Man of Tomorrow and everything like that, people go, it's a good Superman story, but Batman appears in it, so we don't really care about Superman or Jon Stewart or anything that happens in that movie because Batman's in it. He's more popular than Superman, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is, and it kind of sucks. But like with Batman in those films, I think with the projects that are involved, with Lanterns coming out in the summer, that teaser was very, very good, but it didn't have enough flair that I wish it did. There's barely any green, I think, but I'm excited for the overall topics and the overall things that are happening, and I'm glad DC are taking their time. I just wish that they kind of didn't have a clearer motive, because it's still gods and monsters, but like, I don't see the vision yet. There's obviously the Authority movie got cancelled, and we're obviously doing Checkmate with Peacemaker, and obviously the whole island with the villains and the heroes, but like, I don't see it yet in terms of that. I think it'll be good. I'm not going to be like, oh no, it's not going to be good, it's not going to be good storytelling. I'm just a bit like, okay, if we are trying to bring us all together in some capacity like Man of Tomorrow is trying to do, I think the breadcrumbs need to be a little bit bigger. I'm not saying we need a whole Avengers level threat to deal with, but just something that kind of pushes it all into one cohesive bubble. And the DCU has not done that yet, and that's very kind of up and down, because I'm not complaining that they've not done it, but I also am a little bit. I'm not mad that every movie has like Batman in it and he's everywhere, and that's like, you know, he's the Wong of Phase 4. But like, just something, just a little bit. We've got just a bit more. And with Clayface, I hope it's not that. With Supergirl, I guess we could see it, because Supergirl seems to be not doing what the comic book does and adds Lobo and has any... I think the visuals in Supergirl do not match the comic book. It's a lot less vibrant. Krem is just like this punk rock dude. I don't want it to feel like Guardians of the Galaxy. And like, if Superman's in it for like 5 seconds, that's fine. But don't put him in as a cameo like they did with the old DCU with Dwayne The Rock, and then just putting Henry Cavill and then trying to build up something that will never happen. Because with the Authorities movie being cancelled, it makes me concerned for, hey, we're having Superman in most of the projects. Like, is he going to appear in Lanterns? Is he going to appear in Clayface? I don't want that. But if Jon Stewart is going to be in Man of Tomorrow, James Gunn would definitely do that to make people watch these shows. And that's where my complaint comes for Clayface. If they have Batman in the end of it, it will make people watch Clayface. I don't want it to be this crutch of, oh, you got to see Clayface because Batman's in it. Oh, you've got to watch Lanterns because Superman is in it. You got to watch Supergirl because Lobo's in it. That's what like general movie audiences do kind of feel like at the moment. They feel like, well, where's the leading branching story because of the past MCU and the ramifications of that? You are always looking for the overbranching narrative. Me, myself, I just went on and talked about it, like how I want a little bit more, but I don't want it to feel like, I want it to feel worthwhile. I don't want it to feel like cameos. I don't want it to feel like slop, where it's just like, hey, point at that. Look at that, that's in it. I don't want it to feel like that. And with Supergirl, I like the trailers, I like what they're doing, but the way that it stands right now, nothing is enticing me to go, you're adapting the comic book and you're making good changes. Because the changes don't seem like that worthwhile. I like Lobo, Jason Momoa is good. But Krem and the visual flair make me worried that it's not going to be enough. And it's not going to get people to watch the movie. And then like the latest episode of The Boys, that kind of goes into people watching the show just to kind of feel like they need some sort of final conclusion. And Eric Kripke and the writers have said there's not going to be a big fights throughout the season. It's just going to be a nice concrete story. And that TV show aspect of, you know, with The Boys, we just overswear now. And I was really disappointed by its latest episodes when we go back to where Compound V1 was made and stuff like that, and we just got we just got them hating on each other, and I was severely disappointed by it because it felt like they didn't know where else to put it, so they just thought, hey, let's have an argument episode. We don't know how to fill out the runtime, let's just have them argue over the dumbest stuff possible. We know that these issues are there, but because they come out in such an unnatural way and like a forceful nature, it doesn't feel worthwhile when it's ended. I mean, at least to me, like the Soldier Boy and the Homelander, that's fine. They always were at each other's throats, but this time they were heightened and Homelander was acting more of like a little baby. But with like the boys, Kimiko and Frenchie, why is Frenchie the like level-headed dude? I like Frenchie as a character in this show, the actor not so much, but I hate how Frenchie is kind of the middleman. It used to be Huey, but now he's not. It's weird. I don't want them to be the exact same anymore. I don't want Huey to be that middleman, but he can at least try to be, because that's what he's been doing the entire season. He's been trying to this positive kind of mindset. He's been trying to be like, hey guys, look at the bright side. And then Carl Urban and Mother's Milk be like, no, I'm depressed and miserable and I want to just do one thing. I think the first 2 or 3 episodes were really, really solid in what we were trying to set up with A-Train's death and Homelander losing his mind, becoming Jesus, becoming God. And then the 4th episode is just like, what if we complain way too much and essentially nothing happens? It was like, wow, it feels like a filler episode because it didn't change anything at the end of it. They are in the exact same place as they were before. MM and Butcher are in the same place. They're on the same side. They're on the same storytelling. Annie comes back anyway. So that whole stuff with the dad, I think, was really good and really interesting, but also felt very redundant because we won't care about it in 2 episodes. It will have no impact. And that's what this episode is. It has no impact into my mindset. What happens? In 2 weeks' time, I would like to remember, oh yeah, that happens in the episode. They go to V1, they realise it's not there. Not the whole argument of Frenchie and Kimiko being like, oh, well, you can't talk for me, I'm my own person. And Huey being like, oh, you're just Butcher's bum boy. It's like, okay, we've done that for 4 seasons. We know that's the case, but that's not why we find them fun. Poking at it just makes me realize how bad the writing is. It makes me look at the writing in further detail going, yeah, that really was just not worth it. Or that scene was kind of shit. And the same goes for the writing in most of the scenes. I think the swearing, same with Daredevil Born Again, the swearing has just become so normalized and so has been hotelified that I'm just like, damn, guys. Really? Really? We're gonna just make them swear constantly? And Butcher's always done that. But the reason why other characters swear is not just because it's a cool moment and we need to swear. It just feels like a nothing burger. It feels so redundant, and I hope the next episode is better. I hope the next episode really shows that, and obviously we're getting the supernatural reunion, and clearly they're going to be people from the past, like Soldier Boy is, and I think Soldier Boy is probably my most interesting character in this show. To me, I'm like, I don't care about the boys, I don't care about Homelander, I care about Superboy? Damn, wrong character. Soldier Boy's arc of getting over this kind of macho man style in episode 4. That's the one thing I like about it, was Soldier Boy's killing and him being quite remorseful and sad about it, and like Homelander prodding Soldier Boy to his weakest point. That was interesting, but it could have been anywhere. It could have done anything. It didn't have to be in that place as much as it needed to be. Him killing that person, his brother, someone in the trials, someone he knew, that didn't have to be in that place. Like, yeah, he had the, oh my god, we're back to where it started. Let's talk about your past. Let's bring it up. Bring up bad memories. But like, Soldier Boy as a character has always been so kind of fragile. It doesn't seem to be, but he kind of has been. He was. And that's where a lot of people love to see where the story is going to go, what's going to happen, especially if we're adapting the boys, which then, if we're adapting the boys comics, Black Noir is not a Homelander clone. He just doesn't want to talk. And that is like, okay, the big twist at the end of your comic book, but we're not going to do that. And I go, okay, if we're not going to do that, what is there in store for? Because most of this show has been pretty original. They've taken beats and moments from the comic book, but it's never been the same. So if we're not doing the Homelander clone of whatever reason, we might just get a simple classic Butcher Homelander at the White House. Huey and Annie survive. Frenchie and Kimiko could die. I was like, I think because they don't allow the audience to think about it, they just kind of tell you how it is. With the latest episode, it's like, oh, well, I hate you, you're Butcher's bum boy, or you speak for me. It doesn't leave room for the mind to go, okay, where's the show going to go? Because I don't care where it's going to go, because we've now aired out all the dirty laundry, and that's it. I think things have happened too soon. The boiling point of Butcher being annoyed with Huey, or Huey being annoyed with that shouldn't have happened halfway through the season. It should have happened kind of nearer to their deaths. And I might bite my tongue. And in this episode 5, they all die. But I don't think that's the case. But it's just really lame. It's really lame writing. It's an excuse to make them swear. It's an excuse to make them swear. It's an excuse to make them, I guess, just it's just, I can't even talk about it. It's so boring. It's so annoying. I was just sat there like, okay, is this over? Can we, I like, it feels like we needed 2 episodes. We needed 4 and 5 to feel satisfactory, because that episode 4 was just, it was not it, man. The first 3 episodes were incredible with showing, is Homelander going to go that far? A-Train's death was really, really sad. Soldier Boy's back. What's going to happen? The whole stuff with Stormfront. And it just got turned into, I hate you, man. You're so annoying. Why? It's just, it wasn't it. And that's okay. I hope you enjoyed my ramblings. I will be back again at some point in my life, because there's too many shows happening right now. I will review Invincible. I enjoyed the episodes that I've watched so far, but I've not seen the whole season. What else? Daredevil Born Again, I'll definitely capture the last episode, and I'll talk about it in terms of what I think's next for the latest season, and with the leaks and with the Defenders and stuff like that. And there's also other shows in the way, like Rick and Morty season 9. That's a whole other curveball, but that I'll talk about that in some capacity in every week. Yeah, I just think for me, TV's up right now, and with with movies, Spider-Man Brand New Day, we've got Dune, we've got Doomsday. Some other stuff I want to talk about. I want to do movie reviews of old things that I've never seen before. But yeah, keep in touch, you internet havers. It'll be alright, and I'll see you when I see you.